I've always loved the sound of snow falling because it feels like the world is holding its breath. When everything is covered in white, it feels peaceful at first, like nothing bad could happen. That night, the snow came suddenly, without warning, even though the weather report said it wouldn't. I was sitting alone in my room reading when I noticed the light outside turned soft and white. By the time I looked out the window, the ground was already covered. Something about it felt magical, but also strange, like the snow itself was inviting me outside. I didn't think about the danger. I didn't think about how empty the woods would be. I just felt a strong pull to go walking, as if the night itself was calling my name. I live near a wooded area, not deep inside the forest, but close enough that thick trees stretch for miles, just a short drive away. I didn't have any plans the next day, and I remember feeling tired and slightly hungover from the night before. The snow wasn't even supposed to fall, which made it feel more unreal, like a secret event only I was meant to see. I grabbed my jacket and keys, telling myself I'd only stay for a short walk. As I drove to the hiking trail, the roads were empty, and the snow reflected the headlights in a way that made the world feel quiet and frozen in time. The trail was completely silent when I arrived. No cars, no people, no sounds except the soft crunch of my boots in the snow. I stood there for a moment, letting the cold air fill my lungs, watching the snow drift down through the trees. I didn't have a plan. I just started walking deeper and deeper into the forest, letting the darkness close around me. With every step, the world behind me felt farther away, like I was slowly being swallowed by the woods. After about 20 minutes, I stopped to take it all in. The woods were so quiet that it felt unnatural, like sound itself had disappeared. That's when I heard something that made my heart tighten. A small voice, light and innocent, said, "Hi." At first, I tried to convince myself I imagined it, but then the voice came again, just as clear. There was no one around, no footprints, no movement, just the sound hanging in the cold air, making my skin crawl. I was about to turn back when the voice spoke again, this time sounding closer. "Up here, silly." Without thinking, I looked up. That's when I saw him, a small boy sitting high on a tree branch, at least 20 feet above the ground. He was bundled for the cold, but his smile didn't feel real. It was stiff, like he was copying what a smile was supposed to look like. I felt calm for just a second until I noticed there were no footprints anywhere around the tree. I asked him how he climbed up there. He only waved and said it was a secret, then kept staring at me with that strange grin. My stomach twisted with fear because nothing about this made sense. Then he slowly stood up on the branch, balancing like he had done this before. He looked at me and said, "Watch this." Before I could react, he leaned backward and fell, dropping through the snowy air toward the ground. He hit the ground with a heavy, sickening sound. I screamed, sure that he had just died. No human body could survive a fall like that, especially onto frozen ground. My legs moved before my mind could catch up, and I ran toward him, heart pounding. But before I could reach him, he sprang to his feet like nothing happened and took off running into the woods. It felt impossible, like I had just watched the laws of reality break right in front of me. I don't know why I chased him. Fear should have made me run the other way, but something pulled me forward. I followed his footprints as he laughed, a twisted, playful sound that echoed through the trees. It felt like he was leading me somewhere, like I was part of his game. Every step made my chest tighter, and I felt like I was walking deeper into something I would never escape. As I ran past a tree, something grabbed me from behind. I fell face first into the snow, and suddenly the boy was on top of me. His nails dug into my neck and shoulders, tearing my skin. I screamed and fought, feeling warm blood soak into the snow beneath me. With all my strength, I threw him off. He hit the ground, jumped up instantly, and ran away laughing, disappearing into the darkness. I stood there shaking,
blood on my hands, wrapping my head around my neck to stop the bleeding. The next thing I remember clearly is waking up in an ambulance. The police later told me they searched the woods but found nothing. No boy, no second set of footprints, only mine. Days later, I returned to the trail, searching for answers. There was nothing. It was like he never existed. But I know what I saw, and I know the woods are not empty when the snow begins to fall. That winter break, I was 19 and completely alone in my house for almost 2 weeks. When the storm hit, it didn't feel normal. It felt like the world was being buried. Snow kept falling without stopping, piling higher and higher until the streets looked erased. By morning, there was already nearly a foot of snow on the ground, and the sky was still dark and heavy, like it had no intention of clearing. It felt like the storm had trapped me in a frozen bubble where time no longer moved. The roads were impossible to drive on, and the snowplows couldn't keep up. My neighborhood was already isolated, with houses far apart and trees everywhere. But now it felt completely cut off from the rest of the world. No cars passed, no people walked outside. The silence was so deep it felt like pressure in my ears. I kept pacing my room, trying to pass the time, but the Wi-Fi was out and my phone barely worked. The house felt too quiet, like something was waiting in the stillness. By evening, boredom mixed with loneliness, and I made a decision I would later regret. My friend Ryan lived about 1.5 miles away, and I thought it would be funny to walk to his house and surprise him. I put on my boots and stepped outside into the cold night. The snow had stopped, and the streetlights made the snow glow like glass. Each step echoed in the empty road, and I felt like I was the only person left alive. Halfway there, the road passed through a long stretch with no houses, only trees and open land. The silence grew heavier with every step. That's when I saw headlights far ahead, moving slowly through the snow. As they came closer, I realized it was a snowplow. For a moment, I felt relief, but suddenly the plow swerved hard, slid off the road, and crashed into the trees with a deep, crushing sound. I ran toward the crash, thinking someone needed help. When I reached it, the snowplow was smashed into a tree. The engine was still running, the headlights were still on. Steam rose into the cold air. But when I looked inside the cab, the driver's seat was empty. The passenger seat was empty too. I opened the door, hoping to see someone slumped inside, but there was no one there. I stepped back and looked around. There were no footprints in the snow, no tracks leading away. It was as if the driver had vanished into thin air. My chest tightened with fear, and a deep feeling in my gut told me to leave. I started backing away when suddenly I heard a man's voice calling for help from behind me. Every part of me wanted to turn back, but something inside screamed at me not to. I started running, my heart pounding in my ears. As I ran, the voice called again, this time much closer, far too close. No human could move that fast through deep snow. I didn't look back. I ran until my legs burned and my lungs felt like fire. When I reached Ryan's house, I was shaking. I told his family everything, and his father called the police. When the officers came, they searched the road and looked confused. Then they told me something that made my blood run cold. They couldn't find any tire tracks. There was no sign a snowplow had ever been there. One officer suggested I imagined it. I felt helpless, like reality itself was slipping away. I stayed at Ryan's that night, staring at the ceiling, replaying the crash over and over in my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the crunch of metal and saw the empty cab. The next morning, Ryan's dad drove me home. The roads were finally clear, but nothing felt the same. Even now, I think about that night and wonder what followed me through the snow. Some things disappear without leaving a trace. And sometimes, you are the only one who remembers they were ever there. That winter, when I was still in high school, my life followed the same routine every day. Train in the morning, train at night. I went to a private school in a nearby city, and during track season, I wouldn't leave until after dark. Most nights, the train was crowded with tired adults, and the noise helped me feel less alone. But one night, everything changed. The moment our train pulled away from the station, the sky exploded with snow. Within minutes, it became a full blizzard, like the world was being erased in real time. We soon found out that our train would be the last one running that night. The storm was too dangerous for any more trips. My two friends, Charles and James, got off at their stop, safe and close to home. I waved goodbye, trying not to panic. My stop was far from everything. I would have to cross a highway and then walk through a long stretch of woods to get home. When I stepped off at my station, I was completely alone. No cars, no people, just wind, snow, and empty platforms glowing under pale lights. It felt like the world had ended, and I was the only one left. I pulled my jacket tight and started walking, knowing I had no other choice. Crossing the highway felt unreal. Not a single car passed, no snowplows, no movement. Everything was buried under white. When I reached the woods, I chose the shortcut to get home faster, even though my chest felt tight with fear as I stepped between the dark trees. I was walking when I looked up and froze. About 30 yards ahead of me stood a man, facing me. He was wearing only shorts and a short-sleeved shirt. His face was twisted into a wide, unnatural smile. My mind couldn't understand what I was seeing. He didn't belong there. In one sudden motion, he screamed and ran straight at me. Terror snapped me back to reality. I turned and ran, slipping through the snow, screaming for help even though I knew no one could hear me. I felt him closing in with every step. The chase felt endless. My legs burned and my lungs ached, but I didn't stop until I broke free of the woods and reached the road. When I turned around, he was gone. The silence felt worse than the chase itself. At home, I told my parents everything. I tried to forget it, but I couldn't. Later that night, something tapped my bedroom window. I pulled back the curtain, and there he was, inches from my face, skin purple from the cold, eyes wide and empty. My dad ran into the room just as the man ran away. We called the police, but when they arrived, they refused to follow the footprints into the woods. They left, and nothing was ever done. For weeks, I was afraid in my own home. I still don't know who that man was or what he was. Sometimes I wonder if he's still out there, waiting for another snowy night to appear again. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe my channel. See you on next videos. Till then, goodbye.